Dawson Rider Review.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with my review of the Power Rangers In Space 5-inch figures. So, these are my retro reviews like usual. Like I said, I usually say at the beginning of these, which is probably getting annoying if you're watching these. I am missing some pieces. I know they have some other weapons that I have them, they're just all in this... They're in a giant weapon box of like Power Rangers weapons I have, and I just don't know where it is. So anyway, enough about my personal life. But these are the 5-inch, or roughly 5-inch scale, I just kind of generalize them as 5-inch, main in-space figures we got. And I think these were for the first truly normal Power Rangers figures we got. You know, with Mighty Morphin for this scale, we had like the flippable head guys, and then Zeo we had the very oddly proportioned ones in addition to flippable head guys. Turbo, another oddly proportioned set, and flippable head guys. But with this one, we started the tradition of having very muscular Power Rangers figures, but at least they looked a little bit more normal and had more of a baseline of articulation. Since they all roughly share the same mold, I'm only going to go over articulation for one male and one female, but then the rest will just sort of be look-wise. But let's start here with the red Space Ranger here. Now, to be honest, a lot of people complain about the muscular figures, and I definitely prefer the later molds that weren't like that, you know, like Jungle Fury, RPM. But these aren't that bad to me, and I actually really enjoy them as figures. I mentioned in my previous reviews that these are sort of neat to get as like a niche collectible piece of like, you know, the history figures. And I feel like from In Space on, I actually prefer that for that purpose, having these as sort of niche collectibles from that era. They're not the most accurate because they're very muscly, but they're also a little more normal looking, so I still really enjoy these. I think for the head sculpt here, they actually did a pretty good job on all of them. It actually looks fairly accurate, not 100%, a million, like, 1,000 billion awesome accuracy. I don't even know, that was amazing reviewing. 1,000,000%, 1,000 billion awesome accuracy. But it looks pretty nice and sleek. They got the shine well. It's nicely proportioned. It doesn't look odd. You got all the little colors on there in his chest. You can see his rippling muscles there. There's his crotch. But yeah, I mean, they got it pretty well done. The muscles may be strange, but the helmet's pretty well done there. They do come with their little individual sidearms. I believe these came with regular weapons too. I just, like I said, don't have them. And they actually separate, which is really nice. Damn it, why'd you have to go back there? But it's the Astro Blaster, the You Got Mail gun, but it actually separates into its individual components. It's still that gray traditional PR weapon style, but it's nice that you can actually separate it and have them holding them separately or together. So that's just kind of a nice touch that they did. As you can see, there's a button on the back because there's a gimmick where you press it and it lights up the little thing on their head, which is the feature on the show. But this one's not working. I think Black works, Blue might, but I know one of them works, so I'll be able to show it, but unfortunately I'm not able to show it. Articulation-wise, he can move his arms around here like this. You can't move them outwards, but you can move them all around. And then you've got the single elbow joint here, no swiveling. You got a pretty solid leg joint here, a nice little hinge right there, and a single knee joint there. So you can get him in some better poses than the Zeo or Turbo figures, but the no outward movement still hinders it. You can't move his head unless I just need to be using extreme force, but you can sort of tell it's molded on. So it's not the most amazing articulated, but just standing there you can see he's just a little more normal looking, and he's got a little more articulation, and they're on the road to the right path. Just of note, all of these figures are a little bit loose. Over time, I noticed a lot of my figures got a little bit loose. So, depending on if you're buying these, whether you get them new in box or just opened or whatever, you might not experience this. But I've had these since they came out, so it makes sense that they have loose joints. When I used to, you know, when I first got them, the first years, they did not have it, so that's a problem that's kind of hit or miss. Let's go over a girl one now, since we need their mold. As you can see, they also normalized these. I think her head sculpt is a little bit strange. It's like I feel like the top thing is a little bit strange, like a little bit too large, but that's fine. But I think they kind of compensated here because the previous two female figures, Zeo and Turbo, looks just like male figures. So they're like, you know what? Let's give them big implants. So that's what happened, but still, it looks a lot more like a female. You got the slender arms, the thighs look more womanly. This is just such a weird thing to film. But then you do have the breasts, and it sounds really weird to talk about in the review, but it's worth noting that they made these figures actually look like females, which is nice. Articulation-wise, it's basically the same. You got the 360 joint here, and then the elbow joint. Her legs, though, only like rotate around like this. I don't know why they think girls wouldn't need to go like that, like guys. That's also very gross. I'm sorry. But you do have the swiveling here at the leg. So there's that. So it's a little bit different. I wish they had more of the same articulation as the guys did. But still, a lot better of a female mold. Much improved. Alright, now here we have Blue. Does his work? Nope, his light up thing doesn't work. But here is Blue, same articulation as Red. He looks pretty decent. I think his muscular form makes sense, given, TJ is pretty muscular. Sounds really weird. I'm talking really weird in these reviews. Once again, I feel like this piece here is a little bit too large, but other than that, I think the head sculpt's pretty solid. I feel like Red's and maybe Black's is the most balanced of these large visor things. But other than that, he looks pretty solid. The color looks pretty decent. He's got the little thing, the little colors here. Nothing too spectacular. One thing I keep forgetting to note, which are also part of my Xeon Turbo reviews, is over time, all these figures, if you have them out for a long time, they get a little sticky. It feels like they're melting. And I'm not exactly sure what causes that. I know someone narrowed it down at one point, but they're not in the direct sun or anything, but it just happens. So here's Yellow, same articulation as Pink, obviously. I actually do think that her little visor up here is a lot better proportioned than Pink's. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But this isn't, on Pink and Blue, it just seemed like that was really wide. But this one definitely seems a little bit better. Anyhow, but yet again, the female mold is a lot better here, as you can see. It's the same as Pink's, but it's just really nice to actually have a female mold. Look how busty that is, seriously. They overcompensated. But still, they're on the right track to making these actually look like females. I think that, Jungle Fury and stuff was better. I could swear one of these guys' head light up, because I know Black's doesn't. Because, fun fact, okay, this figure is the exact same that you would get with the release, but this is actually from a different pack that did not have the light up gimmick. It was essentially the same exact figure, but without the light up feature. I do have the light up feature one, but at the time when I was displaying it, the light up features one's legs were a lot looser and he couldn't stand. This guy's legs have gotten a little loose, but he can still stand, so I opted to keep him out. But he still looks pretty solid. I don't think his visor's that big a deal. I think that Red and Yellow are still the best in terms of that. Everyone else's looks a little bit large, but I can get past that. The helmet looks pretty solid there. I should have brought the turntable up for these, but it looks pretty solid. Everything else is pretty good about it. Overall solid looking. I really apologize that I wasn't able to show the light up feature. I swear that one of these was working before I started this, and now it's not, which is kind of an annoyance. I'm going to go around pressing everyone's again just to be sure. But it wasn't really that amazing of a feature. You pressed it, you pressed the button, and then this little thing would light up and it would show a different symbol based on their ability, which I think was highlighted more so in Mega Ranger. But it was still a neat little feature. Now anyway, before I wrap this review up, there is a Silver Ranger figure like this, but it is very hard to find. I have not seen it that often on eBay or anywhere else, and when I do, it's usually expensive. Just so, I'm not really reviewing this one, but the only representation I have is this larger muscular one, which came with something else. He doesn't really fit in. He's a lot more muscular, a lot more squat and strange looking. So that's all I got in terms of that. So you might have a hard time finding the Silver Ranger. But overall, anyway, I do enjoy these figures. I like them a lot better than the Xeon Turbo ones. I still think they're more of a niche collectible, people that want to collect the history of the toy line. But they're certainly a lot better than the older ones. They're not amazingly articulated, but I still think they make a pretty decent representation for an in-space collection. They may be a little muscular, but standing all together, they look pretty solid, and they look more like they do in the show than the other ones do. So I can pretty much recommend these if you're an in-space fan. I still really enjoy them. Maybe it's just a little bit of nostalgia talking, which I hate nostalgia, but I still think they're pretty solid, and they're definitely a step in the right direction, as you can see from where Zeo and Turbo were. But anyway, that about wraps it up. Until next time, make sure you check out the Crazy Podcast at writersrangersmarvels.com. Until next time, it's Dawson Ryder, signing out.